I was going to do a quick little video on how I pull the rear end housing out from underneath the Cub Cadet. This one happens to be my 782, which is the wide frame, so it makes it a whole lot easier. First of all, I'll take the cover off of the transmission right there in the front. Get that out of the way. Then, of course, you have to take off the seat, the pan, and the battery, and all that. Once you get all that out of the way, it's pretty simple from there. Kind of zoom in. This one being, it's got hydraulic lift. You have to disconnect the hydraulic lines at the pump. You can do one of two other ways of taking the pump off the drive shaft. You can drive the spiral pin out, or you can do like I do, just disconnect it from the flex joints. It seems to be easier that way. Once you get everything loose, there is a spring on this side. I don't know whether you can see it down in there, that attaches to the clutch pedal. It goes back here to the side of the frame. You will have to take that loose as well. But the biggest thing is, once you get all this loose, what I try to do is put the back on jack stands. I'll jack the rear end up ever so little bit just to get the wheels off, because mine are weighted. I've got 2 sets of wheel weights per side, and also got them fluid filled, so they're kind of heavy. And I do have wheel studs instead of the bolts that goes through there. It kind of helps a little bit in that. But once you get all that loose and out of the way, take and jack up the rear end and put it on jack stands like I've done. Normally I have the front level, which helps a lot too, but I set it down because I normally put a floor jack under that to level everything up. So you can see right now it's kind of setting nose low, but once I put the floor jack underneath the front, it raises everything else. But the big thing that helps is this right here. Bought this lift table at Harbor Freight. I think I gave $175 for it. I think it lifts up to 500 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that, but this thing has been a lifesaver as far as getting the old out, being able to work on it, put everything back in, because I've seen people try to use a floor jack on YouTube, and sometimes the whole rear end housing assembly slides off the front, and if it lands on the pump wrong, it'll bust it. It'll bust the case. So with this, there's no way that that's going to happen, because it's sitting on there pretty flat as you can get. So what I'll do, I'll just run this up underneath the back end, take the 2 bolts out on each side. I've got everything else loose. Jack the table up and take everything loose and let it down, and everything comes out as an assembly. So you don't have to take anything apart other than all your connections and all your linkages and all that, which you would have to do anyway. But everything's on this table. It's secure. It's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about it tipping over. You do have to kind of be a little careful with moving it around, because it just get a little shaky sometimes. But other than that, it's pretty sturdy. So I'll go around the front. This is the front side where the pump is. I've got the pump. I sent it to a guy to put new seals and everything in it. He did the pump on my 105, and all that turned out really well, so I'll let him do that as well. It's got new gaskets in the rear end housing. It's got new gaskets for the drive shafts go in the housing on both sides. So I did that. I did new axle seals on each side. I did a new gasket for the rear, for the plate cover. And of course the cork gasket will be new. That's what was leaking and making the mess. But You can just kind of see where that goes. But now you do stick it to the pump side. It's got a sticky on one side, cork on the other side. Both sides is cork, but it's got a sticky side, and you stick the sticky side to the pump side. And one thing I wish that I have done before that I didn't realize was this. Loosen this up while the rear end's still on the tractor, because it's kind of hard to be able to loosen it with it on this plate, because there's not really a good way to hold on to it. You have to use 2 wrenches, which, you know, is okay, but it's easier just to do it while it's on the tractor. And then there's my wheel stud mod that I did. They're 7/16 tap bolts, and they're fine thread. They're like 2.5 inches long. Probably want to wind up going to Fastenal, someplace like that, and getting those, because like Lowe's or any place like that probably will not have them. They're a little pricey, but it's been my experience with all the ones that I've had in the past. This really helps, especially if you run fluid in your tires. So, and that's about all I've had for this one. As soon as everything gets put back together, I might do a little short video on how to put everything back together. But this is kind of where I am at this point. 105 is in the back. I actually mowed with it last week. The other 782, I've got the motor pulled out a bit. I was going to go through, try to freshen it up, but this happened. So another thing happened. Got this 420 now that I've inherited. Let's see if I can stay back. Go to picture. John Deere 420. I've been doing a little bit of work on it. I pulled the deck off, and I went to change the fluid in the gearbox, and went to put the cover back on top of the gearbox, and apparently knocked the seal out the bottom side. So I'm having another seal put in that, and probably have all new seals put in that. So, but this is the 420. It may be possibly for sale later on. I don't know. I'm just kind of waiting to see, you know, if I'm gonna like it or if I want to keep my Cub. But the 105 is for sale. It says back here, it is for sale. If anybody is interested, you know, they can get a hold of me one way or another. But I think I will let it go because it's getting a little bit crowded in here. But you know, this is where I'm at on my video, or is my progress. Hopefully this helps you guys maybe make it a little bit easier to take these rear ends out a little safer too. So thanks for watching.